What's going on, guys? My name is Yellow S2K and welcome to some MX vs ATV Legends. I went back and forth about creating a review about this game or a should you buy, and honestly it just did not sound fun. I'm sick of the same old process and I just wanted to play the game and share it with you guys. And what I decided is I'm going to do 252 stroke laps at all of the AMA national tracks that were released as part of that track pack DLC. These tracks are pretty cool so far, and who else likes a 252 stroke at nationals? Hopefully most of you guys. And the 252 stroke in this game is pretty great. It's like it's got the power of the 450 almost, but the flickability of some of the lighter bikes. I mean, I think you can kind of see right there. I think this is a sleeper bike. I'm seeing it more online than we did when the game first came out, but I think a lot of people are really enjoying it. One thing I can say is I don't feel like the outside factor that like bogs your bike down that makes no freaking sense in this game, like you see on the 450 and the 250F. So it just seems a little bit more clear cut. You know, what you put into the bike is what you get out of it, and I like that. First note on the track, obviously it has this new section here that was introduced this year. This was a national motocross that I was at because it's kind of my local one. I'm from Colorado, so it's one that I go to, and I don't think I've ever missed a year. I don't know, but this section is really interesting. It is really tight, and it really gets rid of the flow of the track. Personally, I feel like it's overall a negative. It was really fun to watch because there were some really good vantage points to see, big OJ, to see the ruts and how these guys are just nailing corners. But I think overall it just really breaks up the flow of the track. Oh, pushed a little bit to the left there. We'll just do some time trials on these tracks and try to get some halfway decent laps, try to beat our ghost, that kind of thing. Huge preload. I'm just gonna have to land flat. I find it, unless you're just doing a straight scrub, if you have to preload things, I feel like it's very inconsistent. At times you get a big old preload and other times you don't, and I'm sure some of that's just user error, but I really like to have some consistency in these types of games so you know exactly what you're gonna get. Otherwise I feel like it's just a frustrating thing. But there's a lap. Pretty cool track, very accurate overall. Some little tweaks, but this whole section looks really nice. The hill here seems to be pretty accurate to what it really is. You ride up it and walk up it enough times, you kind of get a good feeling for it. This feels pretty decent. The slope here, pretty solid. Oh, thought I was going to case that pretty hard. This uphill, I feel like it's a little steeper, but honestly, I could be wrong. They did a really, really great job on this track. It's just this section here that's a little awkward, and it's, of course, not the guys at MX vs ATV's problem. This is pretty accurate. This was really cool. I wish this had a little bit more pop to it, but I guess it does. That was a very poppy jump. And it was a pretty big huck, honestly, even though it was a rather small double. But for the coming out of that corner, it was a huck for those guys. But the game itself, for those of you guys that are curious of my thoughts on the game, I think they've really improved it with their getting rid of the sliding, or at least improving the sliding. That was a pretty ugly whip. That really helped. There's still some, and I think that's a good thing, but overall, it doesn't just feel like you're on ice all the time, but it doesn't feel like it's all out, where in all out, it's like you're just on rails every time. So, since we're whipping it, I think the in-air physics could definitely use some work, but I think it's something where, depending on the bike you're on, depending on the settings, and also the way you decide to throw the whips, it can either be really, really bad or mediocre. Shoot, can we clear this? So like a lot of the whips have that slight awkward movement to them, but I would say it's an improvement overall, and they're definitely heading in the right direction as far as in-air physics go. I am finding myself having quite a bit of fun, especially on this two-stroke, this light bike, throwing some just little whips, like not even the big ones that are kind of ridiculous that you see more on this track, but the little flicks and things like that off of some of the smaller jumps. Even just, that wasn't a great example, but stuff kind of like that. That's a pretty big step up. I remember hitting that for the first time back when I was like, I don't know, 14 or 15 or something, and it's blind, and that was a scary one. But yeah, I just feel like it's just all, again, back to consistency. Really, the whips are okay, but I just would like to see it be a little bit more active off of the lip. I think that's one of the perks of Reflex. I honestly think the whips and Reflex are garbage. Once you go back and play it, it's like, why do we have so much nostalgia about this? I mean, Reflex is a great game, don't get me wrong. But the whips are not that great. The cornering is really not that great. It was just what it became over time, and with custom tracks and all that, that made it really, really great. But what they did the best was sliding the bike, the rear end of the bike, off the face for a scrub. And you were able to really control that, and throw that back in and slide it, and it just felt right. And I think that's the thing that Reflex does so good that no other game really does well. Maybe Sim, but other than that, it's like, that's the best effort I can give it. And that wasn't too bad. Like, you can see, you can throw some pretty cool whips. You really got to work at it. And really what I'm doing to throw some of these, ones that look a little bit cooler, even like that. I'm doing the full scrub, so both sticks pointed in the same direction, and I overjump that every time. So both sticks in the same direction, and you get it to throw out kind of like that. I like the look of that versus waiting and then throwing the sticks. I like to do it up the lip, like right here, up the lip, and then bring it back. I think that looks the best, personally. But I know everyone's got their own style, their own way of doing things, and that's what makes these moto games so great. But yeah, ground physics are decent. I think they're a lot of fun. You really have to clutch stuff. My biggest gripe is that go ride that 450, go ride that 250F, and sometimes you just bog and it doesn't make sense. You're like, why am I full throttle in third gear on a 450 and I'm just bogging like I'm not on the pipe on a two-stroke? I'm riding this 252 stroke because of the weight, but also because of the way it reacts. It's consistent, again. So that's my biggest gripe there. Otherwise, the way you kind of slip through a corner, the traction that you have, the way you're able to kind of grab some of the pre-made ruts, or berms, if you want to call them that, I think it's great. I think it's really fun to have some good racing in it. But otherwise, in-air physics could use some work, but it's definitely an improvement, and I've gotten a lot better. At the beginning, I really didn't like them at all, and now I'm finding ways to kind of make it look cooler to me. So I think overall, it's pretty decent. The preload system's a little funky. You guys know, if you're not playing it, it's kind of like one stick or both sticks. They also have the ability where you can either push just back or back then forward, and it pops you higher. Like that was just pulling back and then throwing a scrub at the same time. You have a lot of adjustability, which is nice, but I don't know, a lot of times if you need that extra pop, you just go a mile in the air. Ooh. I need to make sure I don't overjump this time. Alright, we're going to do one more lap just to finish this off. I'll continue to talk about my thoughts on the game over time, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you enjoying the game? I know it's pretty divisive. A lot of people seem to be hating on the game quite a bit. I actually hated on it a little bit before I started getting my hands on it. And the more I've played, the better I'm liking it. I guess the better I'm getting, and that correlates to a little bit more enjoyment. And yeah, I think overall it's a good game, and I think you're missing out if you're just gonna not play it at all. Even if you don't like it that much, I'd recommend picking it up, playing it, having fun with it, because there's a lot of fun to have. even if it's just that arcadey screw-around motocross game. It's not a sim. It never was pretending to be a sim. I've been seeing some comments of like, well, sim is MX Simulator or MX Bikes is just so much better. It's like, well, this is a different experience, right? This is meant to be something completely different, and I think they do a pretty good job at it. I'd like to see some little tweaks and improvements just to add a little bit more smoothness to the gyro and in-air physics. Just continue to work on those. I don't know if I can provide the best advice without making a whole separate video on that. Ground physics, I'm sure they're going to continue to improve it. And overall, great game. The tracks are definitely the strong suit, and now that we have these AMA tracks in here, I think that is even more so. I mean, how cool that we have all these tracks in here. That is a massive, massive deal. And then you add on like the trails and the invitationals, and then the actual supercross tracks and the national tracks that are in the game. They're honestly pretty good and a lot of fun to play with, and the online is a ton of fun. It's like, I think overall it's a solid package. And again, let me know your thoughts down below. I'm gonna have to preload on this and off track. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And look out for the next video here. 252 stroke AMA Nationals. I'll talk to you later. Peace out.